All right, that program worked in part because we actually entered an integer. So let's try it again and let's see if we can mess it up. All right, so this time, what is your favorite number? My favorite number is 11. ELEVEN. Okay, Java util input mismatch exception. So the keyboard was awaiting an integer. I typed in a string. That threw an error. All right, that seems kind of obvious. You know, what if we said, what's your favorite number, and you were a big fan of the number pi, and you typed in 3.14. Same thing, mismatch exception. Now, to handle these, I do have a double option available to me. Note that it's not enough to just make the variable a double, okay? Just making the variable a double won't actually fix it. So if you run it now and you throw it a double, okay, you still get that same error. So you'd have to expect a double on this side as well. So earlier I mentioned there's two methods for numerics that we're going to learn about. One is the next int, and the other one is the next double. Okay, so next double. Now, if you were using this program and you typed in a double, it should handle it just fine. So 3.14. Now I got my favorite number is 3.14. If you really, really wanted this number to be an int and you didn't want to crash, like if the user put in a double, you could always use the typecast that we learned about back in chapter 5. Okay, so you could typecast here, no different than we were typecasting before. This whole thing that I have highlighted is part of a return, and it's going to become a double. So what I have highlighted will eventually be replaced by a double. That's like what the compiler will see. And then you could turn that into an int by just truncating off any decimal. Okay? And so it would have actually printed 3 in that case had I gone ahead and ran that. All right, let's turn this stuff off for a minute. Okay? And now let's try to ask a different prompt. Let's say, what is your name? So this time I'm going to prompt the user and say, what is your name? And I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to take the ln off of this print, and maybe you'll notice the difference. Okay, so what is your name? Oops, I think I got that backwards. All right, I'm going to say string name equals. Now, remember what I mentioned earlier, but just to prove it to you, there's no such thing as a next string method. There's a next int, there's a next double, but like it tells me, cannot find symbol method next string. It doesn't exist. There's no method called next string. You have two choices. You have a method simply called next, which will accept a one-word substring. Okay, we'll try that one out first. So now let's print the result. System out print. I'll go back to the print line, and I'll just say something like your name is, and I'll concatenate it with name. Okay, so program's going to ask the user their name. It's going to pause and wait for them to type it in, and then it's going to print their name on the screen. All right, so let's try this one out. All right, what is your name? Brian Zerla. It says your name is Brian. Okay, what happened to the Zerla? Well, if you use the scanner method next, it only accepts one word. It'll let you type in more. It's going to let you keep typing stuff in until you hit the enter key. But it's only going to grab the first word. Now, how does it know? It uses something called a delimiter. And the delimiter, we'll learn how we can actually change it in the future, but its default setting is to search for white space. So the space key, the tab key, enter, other things, okay? And if it sees any separation between strings, it will stop at that separation and grab what it has so far. So in this case, it just grabbed Brian. It saw the space and it stopped, and it put the word Brian into the string name. The word Zerla just got lost. Same thing if I did something like this. If I typed in my name was Dr. Brian Zerla III, Esquire, Okay, now it says your name is Doctor. It grabbed the first string before a space key that it saw. Okay, what if I wanted all of that information? Well, I could put in several kb.next and it would just keep grabbing successive strings. You would have to know how many strings they were going to type in though for that to work. Or another thing I could do is I could change this to be the next line method. There's two methods for grabbing strings we're going to learn about today. One is the next method. The other one is the next line method. Okay, so the next line method, if I try this one out, here's the difference. If I type in my name as Dr. Brian, this is not, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a third, I'm not an Esquire, okay. But if I type in all that stuff, it actually grabbed all of it. You see the difference? So it grabbed all 5 pieces that I put right there because it actually waited this time until I hit the enter key and it took all of that information. So there wasn't a delimiter searching for spaces to stop like a separation of strings. So that's the difference between next and next line. Next grabs one word, next line grabs the entire line. Now, if I only typed in one word, it's fine. You could even put, it's kind of weird, you could even put like numbers here, okay? Because it's a string, and a string is capable of assuming any type of character. Which takes us back to that same idea. You might wonder, well, why don't we just always use strings? Well, if you were taking in a number and later you wanted to multiply that number by 10, it'd be a lot easier to work with an int or a double. Now, there is something you could do to a string to make it a value that could be multiplied by 10, but it's not real easy. Okay, so we like to use numerics when possible. Sometimes we use strings. Okay, did you guys notice how this time when it asked me what my name was, it actually paused and let me type in my name. I know it's not my name, but it actually paused and let me type in my name in line. I don't know if you remember seeing this before, but when I asked earlier for the favorite number, the cursor dropped down beneath the prompt. So if you want to keep everything in line, like I think, maybe it looks a little bit better, then you should use a print statement, not a print line statement. Now, it's okay because the scanner is going to actually automatically drop you a line anyway before that next print comes. So it doesn't like get messy or something when when I hit the enter key, it's going to drop a line anyway. All right?